Hey, welcome to the Treehouse Athenaeum. We're really excited you could join us today. Take a seat or maybe a walk as we jump into some topics you probably wondered about. From deciphering dreams to following your wildest intuitive hits, we've definitely got something for you. Let's get started.
All right. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good third meal. I really don't know where you are in your point in the day. Today I am here with the entire Athenaeum crew. This is a thing.
Athenaeum.
Athenaeum. We're still learning, which is kind of the point. Anyway, we are here to talk about the origin story of how the Athenaeum came to be. So I am Lisa. I am here with Dave, Jenny, and Daniela. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. So I thought that today we could share with our new friends out in the community how the four of us got together, why we got on board as quickly as we did, and why we're excited to introduce other people into the fold. I'm excited. Are you excited?
Did it sound culty?
No.
Yeah.
No, okay.
No, it didn't sound cool. I didn't say anything about like Kool-Aid.
One of us.
Flavorade. Okay, so Jenny, you were the first person that I pulled into this little seed of a scheme. So I would love to hear what got you on board, what got you excited, and where you saw yourself plugging yourself into this Athenaeum.
Athenaeum. Yeah.
Anthem.
Yeah, what got me on board is there's multiple ways to get to know oneself. There's multiple ways to go about understanding ourselves, the landscape of the world, how we can and want to show up in the world. And I think the thing that I don't know if it was the most attractive, but up there in the top 5 or 10 is the approach to this of let's bring in multiple skills and approaches that really help people get in touch with the core of who they are and give people options about how they want to learn about themselves, apply themselves in the world, and where they get support from. And knowing our hearts and knowing who we are and how we show up in the world and the kind of people that we seek to attract to ourselves, just even personally and professionally, got me really excited. There was a time where I shared a dream with you about pulling a consortium of coaches together, and getting people from multiple backgrounds and experiences. I'm an exceptional coach, but I'm not everybody's coach, right? And the same with all of us. We all have exceptional skills, but just because I'm good at what I do doesn't mean it's going to vibe with a particular person. And so when you brought this to me and said, "Hey, there's all these different things I'm thinking about pulling together. What do you think of this?" And then we can put a platform together and people can kind of go at their own pace, which I also think is awesome about what we're doing here is you never know where you're catching somebody and their growth and development. God knows that where I'm at today, I was hoping to be 30 years ago in my life, right? And I might have been on the slower path of what we're developing here, but at least it's here and available. And I'm really excited about all of the ways that we're giving people ways to get to know themselves and get to know how they want to show up in the world and truly live the life that they were destined to be. I know we talk about purpose a lot, and I'm not talking about purpose like why are we, like what is somebody here for? What are they here to do for the world? But like, why are they even here? Like here in this embodiment, in this world at this time. It's a perfect time in human evolution to allow people to really get in touch with that. Even with all the disruption going on across the world and the globe right now. I think part of that disruption is breaking old patterns and allowing us opportunities to really find the way and the truth. We don't have to live in fear in the ways that we had to for generation upon hundreds of thousands of years, right? We have an opportunity to be independent and interdependent in ways that probably haven't existed ever for humans. I don't know human history that well, but not 60,000 years ago at least. But that's that's the opportunity it gives me. It gets me excited about giving people even more tools. To just live fully.
Yeah, no, that's excellent.
So now that you cracked that shell open, I would have talked for 50 minutes, but let me hand it off to someone else.
Mhm.
Dave, since you spoke up, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think the beginning of 2024 was a transformative time for me. I really kind of started considering and stepping into who am I going to be after all this healing, all of this inner work that I had been going through in the previous season, and I it started coming to me like how do I figure out who I am and what I want to do? You know, I love spirit, I love all things spiritual, and I see the interconnectedness of the world. I know my giftings and I know my interests, my likes, you know, whether it's art or nature, but people are always at the center of that. And so I knew I wanted to build something, and it would be collaborative. It would be with other people because that's what all good things come together with, you know, through. So I think I told Lisa in May, one of the visions like I had, I wanted to do like an online um, spiritual resource uh, project or platform where people, if they want to learn about themselves, you know, because all power, you know, wisdom, the beginning of all wisdom comes from knowing yourself. So reconnecting with that intuitive center within each of us, and that would in turn empower people to live the best type of life they could, you know, the best possible reality they could. So how do you do that, and when and with who? That's where I was like, oh, I'm just going to trust that spirit, you bring that, you universe, bring it to me. And sure enough, I put that out there, just make me a vessel. And Lisa was like, there's something here. And then she knew, of course, you too. And so she was like, this is going to be something. You felt it in your gut, you said, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it was screaming at me. At first,
yeah.
I thought it was indigestion. So strange.
But that's how it starts. It's like a little nudge at first, like a little, hey, you can do something bigger. You know, you're called to do something more. But it's so overwhelming to realize, like, how, but it's not for you. You know what I mean? It comes to you. As silly as that sounds, there's a lot of work obviously involved, but once you get the ball rolling. So I guess I would say I envision again an online platform or community where we can come and exchange our wisdom, our knowledge, and our just our experiences together. You know what I mean? We're going through this together. We are part of a collective. Yeah, you know, as a humanity, let alone as people in this country in this time. So, how can we help each other be the best we can? How can I support my you know siblings all around me, my spirit soul siblings? You know, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Hmm.
All right, my Scorpio queen, Daniela, let's
Hmm.
hear it.
I came into this feeling very excited. Also, just a huge intuitive hit as soon as Lisa said it. And Lisa, has been working on her own thing for a while. And I was watching, I feel like I got like a front row seat into her enneagram practice. And I always felt this pull, like I kind of want to work on that with her, but this doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like the right time. I'm not enneagram certified. And so when this other idea happened and it was like, let's do this kind of large scale, not just Enneagram, let's bring all the practices together. I was like, this is the thing. This is it. This, my intuition was trying to be like, hey, 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 keep her around. You're going to want to work with her. And I think I felt the work with her part. And then when this came in, I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is it. I didn't even need to know. I mean, obviously I need to know, but who the other people she was bringing in. And I'm so glad now that I do know Jenny and Dave that it's like, this fits so well as a puzzle piece. I grew up in this kind of spiritual world and took, I don't want to say a hard U-turn away from it, but I've had so many realizations with kind of growing up in this space. And so, because of that, I also feel strongly about what it's missing. And I think there's so much to be said about intuition and spirituality and like the new age kind of space. And meeting those people in practice was always a hard thing for me. I think, when you learn things as a kid, you pick things up as black and white and you see things in absolutes. And so meeting adults who probably were not raised in it, were learning it themselves, and we're making mistakes and failing and learning and still growing was confusing for me because I was like, but it's this way, right? Like we all agree it's this thing, but like they were complex adults going
Yeah.
through life with their own baggage, their own. So yeah, I think now what I believe is kind of missing from this piece is the self-awareness part. So I'm just so ecstatic to bring self-awareness and how important it is for intuition and for spirituality and for your overall like health in general. And I really mean like health in general.
Yeah.
Uh
It's all connected. Yeah.
yeah, it's all connected. And so you can't really listen to what spirit is telling you unless you know how to filter through your own BS.
Yeah.
And I think that is like the biggest thing that I think, and I'm excited that we can accomplish here.
Mm.
Well, yeah, we can. Like, okay, so you're talking about all of you have these way deeper roots to spirituality than I do.
Mm.
I have none. I have none. My parents stopped going to church when my sister was born, which I used to be convinced was not coincidental, but that's a little too shady. Sorry, Amy. But anyway, so it wasn't a part of my life. And the thing about each of the three of you is that I met you during three very different points in my life, and all three of you were very instrumental. And I had no way of knowing that when I met each of you. And so, like, Daniela, you came first. You came when I was learning that my worth was more than minimum wage. I can't believe that, It's such a
Wow.
wild concept that my labor and skills might be worth more than $8 an hour. Um, and you were coming from the same uh, pay grade that I was. So you and I were kind of quantum leaping from the $8 an hour glam into this kind of like unlimited potential of being a server at a high traffic touristy place. So
Yes.
that was first. And you were also when I was really finding the people that I was just like in love with in Florida. And Dave, you came next when I was going through my Saturn return.
Great.
So you
Great
got the
time.
short end of the stick, but you stuck around, man. That was really important to me. You were there at a really interesting, intense time, and I knew that if I came to work and I was going through it, you would be there for me regardless of what else was going on. And you would usually like make it an in and out thing. It wasn't a thing where we were going to sit there and dwell on it. You were going to give me the exact right thing to say. And then I could run off into the world and implement it. And then Jenny, you came when I was having my own personal tower moment and everything was falling the fuck apart. And I was like, what do I do? And Jenny was onboarding at a job with me at the same time. And like our second session, and I just started bawling and had to go off camera because something poked at a little bit of workplace trauma that I had. And Jenny, being the empathetic soul that she was like, me too. And then we totally bonded over that. So having the three of you there in these different pockets of my life, showing up as strongly as you did and normalizing it is a big piece of why I pulled this group together, and B, a even bigger piece of why I am so excited to bring other people into the fold and give them that community. Because
Yeah.
had I not had community in each of the three of you, I would have been so screwed. Like I would it there wouldn't have been, well, I'm sure there would have been. It would have had different faces, but I happen to
Yeah.
love the three of
Life
yours.
always brings us what we need.
Yeah. So it's like I needed that community to normalize these things that I was going through and have someone trustworthy to talk to. So the thought of bringing together people from all over the world who are trying to discover who they are according to the modalities that make the most sense to them and make them feel seen or make them feel dragged. In the case of the enneagram, you are going to feel that way. and really like provide the opportunity to kind of like share notes with other people.
Mhm.
Like, hey, can I copy your
Be
work a little bit?
validated. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's so, so important to have that. It was night and day difference for me. Um, so anyway, that's enough about me and my sob stories. Uh,
Well, do you want to talk about like why the name Treehouse and Athenaeum or Athenaeum or
At the
Athenaeum?
Oh
Athenaeum.
God.
Yeah.
Comment
Uh,
below how you would pronounce. We need some phonetic options.
so when I think about the treehouse, okay, the treehouse, I think of it as this visual, and this was something that was kind of floating in the ether before we named it officially. But at the center of the treehouse is like this like open air place to gather. There's shelter, there's learning. For those of you that don't know, an Athenaeum is a library. It holds records and learning and all these other different things. And so that's what's at the center. That's where all of us are gathered right now, is in the middle of that Athenaeum. And that's the learning, right? And then the treehouse are the supportive branches that are holding that Athenaeum in place. So you've got the branches of the practitioners that are here to dive into this work with you one on one, or through groups, or through self guided e learning, whatever makes the most sense for you. And I mean, to go back to the etymology of it, we could definitely dive in a little bit further. And Daniela, I know that you are a wordsmith, so I'm gonna punt this over to you and your take on the situation.
Well, I'll share how I found it because I was just Googling when we were still kind of trying to nail down the name. And we've kind of been referring to all of this as the collective, like we are the collective. Um, and so I was just kind of looking up different like synonyms. And I kept thinking library, like, is there a synonym for library? Because we're kind of like this collection of material that people can come and reference. So I found, Ath- I'm already going to mess it up. Athenaeum. I want to say Athenaeum, but it's not right. It's
Athenaeum.
It's
Athenaeum.
the essence
Athenaeum.
of it that's important. It's
Yes.
the essence.
Treehouse
Remember,
is
it has a lot of
important.
Aquarian energy, so we can say it any of the ways.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Aquarius.
it's its personality, so it is what
Yeah.
it is.
So I found Athenaeum, and this just immediately caught my attention because I'm a huge Greek mythology person.
Mhm.
And
Me
my
too.
dog's name is Athena, and she has a brother Aries. They're from the same litter, and so I was just like Athenaeum, Athena, and I have an owl tattoo behind my left ear, and I was like, this is so cute, but I don't want to make this whole thing about me, so I'm just gonna like put in the chat that I
But
love
we
this
need to call it
name. Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna say that I love this name and see how it goes because I know at least Lisa knows that my dog's name is Athena, so I didn't want it to be like, hey, let's name this thing after my dog. Um, and then it came back up. I think Dave is the one who came back and was like, I think Treehouse. Yeah, because Dave, you also have an
I feel like
Athena.
this is some past lives stuff. I really do. Like
Yeah.
maybe we're Greek together. I don't know, but I've had Athena tattooed on my arm for
Mhm.
my God, what? Like almost over 2 decades. So like it just hit immediately. I've always had an affinity with it, and I still like what was that whole thing going around on TikTok? Like how many times men think about the Roman
Think about,
Empire every week?
yes. Yeah.
So
Oh,
for me, it's more the Library of Alexandria. Like, how much farther would we have
Ooh.
been along if we just didn't burn that shit? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
But yeah, no, there's something there. It just pinged for me. I was like, this is it. I love it.
Yeah. When I thought, like, if I were to visualize Athenaeum, God, anyway, if I were to visualize it, and this is kind of niche, so this is like Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's in the third, I think it's in the third season when, which is a sad episode when they lose Appa. They're leaving the library. I forgot what it's called now, but like that, like in the desert, buried, is like what I kind of envisioned in my head is like this collection of work, and the guardian of that library is just a massive owl.
Mm.
Very scary, but like very cool. So just
And
that's
that's
like in my
exactly,
head.
yeah. And that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to build, right? Just imagine all of the wisdom from all of these individuals with individual experiences, expressions of the divine coming with their own unique, situation. And they're learning, and I just to share that together, like you said, this common space where we can all just grow together. Because spirit will line us up with who we need to be with. You know what I mean? We will find when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and it's very much that energy of like, if we can make something available, how much more empowered are we going to be, for those who are seeking? So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
mm, mm, mm.
Well, yeah, and to piggyback off what Lisa said, I don't know that I've heard you say that in that many words, Lisa, but I was thinking about this and what I was going to say and what we were going to talk about today, yesterday. And I was just thinking where I was before we really started talking about this. And you were the one who brought it up. And I was kind of telling you my background on this, and, how I was raised in it, and kind of my current feelings. And my current feelings, and this was like not even a year ago, was still kind of pessimistic.
Mm.
So I would really credit, talking through it with you to me coming back full circle and being like, okay, yeah, because I've always been, knocked over the head with messages and signs. Like I've had common, overarching things of things that I need to learn. And this is one of them that I know has been like knocking at me for a long time of like, hey, remember that intuition we gave you that you like learned from a young age that you know how to use, and it's just sitting there because you're being a little bitch? Yeah, maybe you should maybe you should come back to that. And I was just like, nah, I don't really feel like it, because I have a lot of questions that you haven't wanted to answer for me for like 5 years, and I'm mad about that. But Lisa kind of helped me realize like you don't really need those answers, and you can just keep going. So sometimes you just need that other practitioner, that other person to be like, it's okay,
Connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you came to that via Jenny. Like you and Jenny were the opposite ends of that for me as I was learning like how to do all of this inner work, which like, okay, I'm divorced, right? Like it's the most cliche thing in the world to be like, I'm divorced, I'm gonna go find myself. But
But
that's
no,
exactly what I
that's how it
did.
works. Yeah,
And I
that's how
feel
it
great
works.
about it,
Power.
honestly.
Yeah.
You
Cliches are
should.
cliches for a reason. But
Yeah.
so with Daniela, I would
Totally.
be like, here's this thing that I'm exploring, and I'm like a little bit like not necessarily skeptical because I was seeing how it was working out for me in real time. But I was able to kind of like dig through it with Daniela. I'm like, this is what I'm experiencing, and like this is kind of weird. And used to start every polo with her with "Don't judge me," but and then I would stop myself and say, "You're not going to. You never have."
Safe
Whereas
space.
Jenny was over here setting the example for me. Like I would be on the phone with her, and there was one time when she went to go pick up Indian food, and she just stops mid sentence and goes, "Ah, thank you, universe." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "I got some extra naan."
Yeah. I see you. I see you.
So Jenny was leading by example. And Jenny, I don't know what your journey here was like. So can you share a little bit more about your journey?
How I got to
How
be
you
in a
got to
position of gratitude?
sorry, what?
How I got to a point of holding gratitude like that, or what?
Yeah, all of it. Like at what point in your life did you become someone that was like, fuck yeah, extra non. Thank you, universe.
Well, seeing the blessing, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, wow. I think I came into the world that way, and then I think I got knocked around a lot for a good portion of my life, and then I came back to it. Like I
Yeah.
don't like there certainly was a period of my life where I too, like Daniela, where you were saying, fighting with the universe and being like, I'm not giving you what you want from me because you haven't given me what I want for the last fill in the blank. Right. So I've certainly had that piece of my life too. And then I started realizing, I don't know, there's so many ways I could answer this question, but I think the way I'm going to answer it here is I started realizing that, well, the short of it is where we put our focus. And it's
Mhm.
that too is also so cliche, right? To if you
But
just
it's not
focus there,
obvious for a lot of us, right?
right?
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And I've known that all along. I've seen how powerful that is, that what we focus our attention on is what comes to be in our life. But there was a long period of my life where I was just very pissed off, not just even about my own life, looking at what was going on in the world. I'm incredibly sensitive, right? It was very, still is very difficult for me to be in around big groups of people and around a lot of energy because I pick up everything.
Hmm.
And I was picking up a lot of anger too, right? And I had to start learning how to relearning again, how to um, focus my energy and my mind and my heart and my attitude and my soul and my spirit in a way that not only served me, right? Because I mean, the worst part that happened through all this is it got so bad, I almost unintentionally took myself out of this world because it started manifesting in my body, and I'm still working through that. Like Lisa, you hear this all the time with me about as you're watching me shuffle back and forth, right? That's me shifting still like pain that was created in my body over the last 20, 30, 40 years. So the more that I have recreated the habit of focusing on what's working and what I do have available to me and what's possible and all of those things, the more I'm able to tune out quite literally all the bullshit
Yeah.
and be truly creative in a way that is to my highest and greatest good and to the highest and greatest good of everybody,
Yeah.
right? Nobody benefits truly from anybody showing up as a shit show, right? Starting with ourselves. And so for me to you know what it was, Lisa, right around the time when you and I met, I was at a period like, I don't like how I'm showing up in the world. I don't like how I'm showing up for myself. Like, how do I need to show up? And this is what I really worked with my coach at the time. Like, how do I want to show up in this world? And and I had to let go of old masks that I put on or old ways that I showed up in the world. I had to deal with people being like, wait, this is not who you are. And it's like, no, this is who I am. Like the version that you knew was
Yeah.
you hear this with me with coaching techniques, like that was version 4.0, right? There's been a lot of software upgrades. Like I'm on version 24.0 now, right? Within that short period of time. So I had to start learning how to show up. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to show up in a
Yeah.
way that was much more beneficial to myself, to my community as I'm rebuilding my community too, and to the world. Like I know when I'm having a bad day and I go out into the world, I usually turn right back around unless I have to be out there and come right back because there's only shit that comes right back to me. But when I go out there, like the other day, I'm sitting at a stoplight and I just happen to look over in a car and this guy makes eye contact with me. And I just smiled. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm just like
Who am
smiling.
I?
And then he smiles back and he waves at me. And I was like, this is bizarre. I live in the East Coast, man. Like that's not what
Yeah,
happens
that's
here,
not
right?
normal.
Yeah. But that
It's
has become
energy.
the norm of most of my days now, right? Like just being able to like send that energy and then get it back like
Yeah.
instantaneously.
The universe isn't against us. Isn't that revolutionary? Like when you realize like, oh, I can work with it. It's working with me. It wants the
Yeah.
best for me. Yeah.
And the
Mm.
best thing I can do, and this is my belief that any of us can do, is really get so clean and clear on who we are and how we can show up in this world the best for ourselves, then it's the best for our families and our community, and it goes on out. So that's the short answer.
I love
Well, I appreciate that. And also, Dave, I see you and your synapses lighting up. So I'm ready to unleash the Kraken. Tell me what was coming up for you as
No, I
you
just
were listening to Jenny's story there.
well, and Daniela too. I think like you said, how you met us. This isn't a singular event. You know what I mean? We're all human, and we're all going. Even though our experiences are infinitely different and unique to us, they're very same, similar and same for many of us. Like you said, we all go through a tower moment. We all go through that anger phase of like, why was I dealt this lot? We all go through, I think we come into the world, uninhibited and like close and connected to spirit, but that's why Earth is a classroom almost, right? Like we're here to like work through all this stuff, empower ourselves, and then in turn empower others. The light in me honors and sees the light in you, right? And it also magnifies it. If I am glowing to my highest resonance, others are going to glow as well, and I don't know, that excites my soul in a way that I can't even express, because I would say now I realize it's where my purpose is. And that's why this is coming together. I want to empower everyone else to feel as good as I do, and that's not just like things are going great for me, it's literally, I know I'm stepping into my authenticity, and I'm living a genuine, authentic life that is in alignment with my divine self-expression. And I know that sounds a lot of woo-woo, but it's really as simple as I'm in flow, and I'm happy to be here and be of service to others, to something greater. And that's through connection. And I just, oh, that's what life's all about for me. And so I am just so excited for all this.
Well, it is. I mean, woo-woo works, right?
Woo
Like,
woo
it really
works.
does. However, the language of woo-woo does not always work for everyone. Like, just like
Mhm.
Jenny was saying earlier about, like, I'm an excellent coach, but that doesn't mean that I am a coach for everyone. And
Mhm.
Daniela, I think that your vernacular in particular is a lot different than Dave's is, even though
Mhm.
you're saying the same things.
Yeah, a lot of
So,
ways to the
what
same
do
sport.
you make of all the like kind of woo woo jargon of it all as somebody who has
Grown up in
was
it.
born in the deep end and then kind of jumped out and sat on the side of the pool for a while, and now you're like, back
Could you
and ready
explain
for
that a
your pool
little?
party.
Could you
Yeah.
explain that a little too? Like, what was, when you say you grew up in it, what do you mean? Like, a lot of
Yeah.
us have church backgrounds, but for you, it was very different, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, different, but not unapproachable. I think it's not like I was raised in some convent, or not convent, what's it called? Where you
Coven?
like share
Commune?
everything. Commune. Yeah. I'm
I
thinking
mean,
coven would have been cool, but no. um, so I don't know. I was raised Catholic, by religion, but everything was separate from that. Right. So
mm,
um my mom raised me to understand that I have gifts, right? Like that's kind of the language is gifts. And she explained to me that she has them as well, and
mm,
that my abuela has them as well, my grandmother. And so as soon as I kind of started to experience things and they started to come to me in dreams, kind of having like premonition dreams and stuff, she helped me through understanding why that was happening and why my dreams are so vivid, and um, how, to kind of nurture that. And she didn't get that. My
mm,
family is from Argentina, and, like any South American, Latin family, everything is rooted around Catholicism or whatever religion, but religion. There is very much a right and wrong way to do things, and like the morals are very much rooted in religion. So my abuela understood that she has this, right, and I can get into my abuela as a whole episode on her own, but
mm,
um, because we didn't really know she was adopted, and we didn't know her background, but we did recently find out, and we were kind of shocked, but it makes sense. She's indigenous, and
mm.
her background, or her I don't want to say bloodline, that feels icky to me, but like her 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 roots, her one parent, which we know is her mother is completely indigenous, whereas
Mm,
my abuela is mixed. She's indigenous, and her father was from Spain, like European. So there's like roots, and we can kind of like start to put the pieces together of how maybe her mother practiced or understood the world to be around her, the universe, things like that, from her culture, and how my abuela spent some time with her, and she popped in and out of her life as she got a little bit older. So I don't really know how all of that manifested, but I know, and I can assume that my abuela drew inferences from that, and the differences between how her mother reacted and acted with the world, and how her adopted family kind of interacted with the universe and religion and things like that. So I think that she knew enough to know that they were gifts, but they shouldn't be like, there was nothing she wasn't going to go out and be like a witch, right? Like she knew that
Yeah.
that was not the right thing, and you know, that was never going to be messed with, and the devil and things like that. Like that, she was never going to go further with that. Um, I don't actually remember if she ever had a conversation with my mom about it, but my mom knows that my abuela has premonition dreams. So at some point, my mom put all this together on her own.
Hmm.
And so as she got a little bit older and started to gain her resources and started to have her mentors, and she started to go to new age shops and trying to find like-minded people and trying to find answers. And this is pre-internet. This is like the early 90s, late 80s, you know. Um, there was no easy way to meet people. And at the time, it was still not exactly, or maybe it was our internalized whatever, but it was not really the thing to be like, oh yeah, I do tarot,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I'm
That's a good one.
intuitive, and I believe in this stuff, and I went to Catholic school, so it's not like my mom could connect with my friends' moms about this. You know, this wasn't something that we were very out with. But my mom recognized it in me early. And then I don't know, now that I have my own child, it's like you can really see the potential and you
Yeah.
can really see the way they connect organically with the universe. And so I understand why she was like, okay, we can start this early and we can really nurture this. And so the message growing up was, you know, you are powerful. You have these gifts and you have all this untapped, just like raw energy and power. And I didn't understand it as much when I was younger. And like, I thought that meant like, I am the witch, you know, like I'm going to be this ultra mega sorcerer and everyone should fear me, right? Like, that's the way my child brain understood that. But obviously, that's not. Now
I
that I have
just
my
love
own.
Elmo. Like,
Yes,
With the
yes,
fire.
yes, yes. And it's funny now that I have my own child, I'm kind of like, okay, now I think I understand why that message was that message. I understand why they got that message. It's not so much that like I am this ultra special, unique, you know, I don't know, I can do things that other people can't. I think because you are a child and you have so much potential and you have so much at your, you know, feet essentially that you can grow almost exponentially,
yeah.
and you're not inhibited by all the things that like an adult would be, and I think that was the messaging, and I understand that more now. But anyway, I got like really
No,
off topic.
I really love this dynamic you're bringing too, because I think out of the three, like all four of us, you have the family perspective, growing up
Yeah.
in a spiritual environment where it was fostered to a point, more than most, I would say. And
Yeah.
then also having a child now, I think that is that's a profound element of what this treehouse is. How do you raise children or families? How, you know, how does that operate,
Mhm.
spirituality within families? I think that is a fascinating aspect to this group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's, you know, mothers and fathers out there looking like, how do I raise a spiritual child? You know, or
Hmm.
how can I foster this intuitive gift that we all have, this intuitive sense, you know, and
Hmm.
in the people around me, you know?
Hmm.
Love
Right.
this.
And yeah, I almost wonder looking back, you know, the way that it was put into practice, other than having these conversations about, you know, what your dreams look like and things like that. You know, my mom was into tarot, and we never learned, or I say we, she never learned like regular tarot. She didn't learn the meanings of cards. She didn't learn what everything meant. It was intuitive. So you would kind of, the tarot card was more of a vessel for the message. So you
Yeah.
would read intuitively the card, which to an art major can probably sound like, oh yeah, I recognize these design elements too. And I can also say, you know, like, but it's different. You are looking and you are listening to what is being kind of put in your head at that moment, right?
Yeah.
So if you pull, I don't know, the wheel, and certain things are catching your attention in that card, then that's probably where the message is. And so it's more about like listening and letting yourself be guided on what that message is, versus, okay, I know what the wheel means, and I'm going to tell you in the context of what ever the question was or what the spread is.
Yeah.
So not to say that one or the other is better or worse.
No,
It's
yeah,
just
we're
a
all
different.
different going into it. Yeah.
So that's the way that I kind of learned growing up. And, I watched her, and she had like one other friend. I watched them do it all the time. And, she would let me pull a card. And I always thought like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Ah,
And it was an animal deck. So it wasn't like her tarot deck. It was like a message. I guess it's like kind of like an oracle deck, I guess. I'm not really sure. But each animal card had its own lesson. So I called it like the lesson deck. So
oh,
it's like you pull this card for what you're supposed to be like understanding right now, what you're supposed to be working on right now, and then we'll go into the reading with my mom's like tarot cards. And so I love that deck. I still have that deck. I stole it from her. She got another.
nice.
She got another deck that's the same one. But yeah, I would say that was my first kind of introduction to listening and connecting with the universe and all of that. And then getting older and then starting to kind of do my own readings and kind of grow into my own self and start to understand what that feels like. And I remember that felt good. Like that, if I could just get back to that. But it was like right after, like right in that same moment, actually, as I was really coming into myself and really understanding my relationship with my guides and the world and things like that, is exactly when I was dealt the challenge. And I wish I could have gotten a little bit more comfortable, because I was still taking cues from my mom, who again is her own person, is an adult with her own complex life and issues and memories and trauma that she's bringing into everything. And I, not to blame her, because that's not what happened, but we were dealt a challenging situation and I followed her lead. And unfortunately, we went kind of down this it just led to both of us questioning back and forth, like, was the first message that we got the right message? And then we kept pulling and kept pulling and kept pulling. And I'm sure it's something that everyone has been through, of like,
Give me
that
another
couldn't
shot.
have, right.
Just one more.
That wasn't the
Another
message.
one.
Yeah. That wasn't the message. That couldn't have been the message that, like, I'm going to pull again. And this is going to be the right message. And then I started to get away from that right feeling, when like a message sits with you and you like understand this is true. This feels right in your gut. You can feel it. And you start to get away from that. And like now it's like anxiety can get in the way of that. Desperation can get in the way of that. And I think desperation got in the way of like trying to find the correct answer. So I never got my answer on that situation. To this day, I have not received the right answer. And so Dave, actually, when I went to you a long time ago, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for, can please someone give me a resolution to this thing? Can someone tell me what actually happened so that I can just lay this to rest and move on? And so from that point, which unfortunately was kind of the beginning of my journey with my own self, to not even a year ago with Lisa, that was me kind of being like, well, whatever, you led me astray that one time and now I can never trust myself again. And it just kind of shot everything. So the energy that I had at the time too was away from all the woo-woo, because I was like, all of your phonies, this sucks. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this like toxic positivity of like, just get back out there, get back out on the horse. You don't need the answers. But I needed it in an approachable sense and from someone who I respected intellectually. And that was Lisa. So it was like, the vernacular thing is not so much the words as it is, I need to know that you are like a real person who is grounded. Yeah. And so like Jenny, like you were saying, you're a great coach, but you might not be the coach for everyone. I mean, me too. Like I feel that
that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all different.
Yeah. So like I might not have gone to read like a Joel Osteen book, that's the direction my mom went. So it's like she went to all these like kind of religious kind of, and not to shade her by any means, but we joke about it all the time because it's like, that's the direction she went in. She looked for solace or maybe to return to herself in something that felt positive to her, and she wanted positivity. She wanted light, where I was looking for dark. I was looking for the nitty gritty. I was looking for,
The
give
wound.
me the goddamn answers. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, please. So, I was looking, yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm coming around to it now, but the vernacular is important to me because I need to know that you're a human that's been through some shit and you're not just like floaty woo woo, But
Yeah.
also, I understand how some people do need that. My mom needed that, and that's okay.
Well,
Mm.
that's the reason for all these different flavors.
Yeah.
And I think the gift piece of that is like, it was a gift you were given. You had it on the shelf for a little bit, but now you're taking it back down and playing with it again. So I think that would actually be a really beautiful way to round out our initial podcast here. Jenny and Dave, I would love to hear from the two of you the gifts that you're bringing to the table
Yeah.
as well. So, Dave,
No, I was gonna, for me, my spirituality has grown the most. I've seen the most substantial, I don't want to say gains, but progress that I have went through is when I have actively sought out my self-care and self-work, taking care of myself, giving myself what I need fundamentally. And that just exploded this like revolution within me of like my intuition, like seeing my signs, like going like I mentioned that flow earlier, just walking with purpose and intention. When you put self-love at the center of your day, that love radiates to others naturally, and then it just spills over into all areas of your life, abundance, and relationships. And so for me, what I want to bring, I'm definitely a very spiritual woo-woo, but it's because I'm seeing it and I live it, And so if that resonates with you, I always like to say, though, I feel like it's just two sides of the same coin we don't understand. I feel like 500 years ago, the magic and the superstition of the day was really just science they didn't understand. So what is going on now that we will know that's obvious in 1,000 years? I think of that Stephen Hawking quote where he talks about um, the quantum theories and physics of today are going to be common knowledge to our children's children. So like if we look at the universe in those ways, is it really woo-woo? Or is it just natural laws that we don't? Well, of course we're telekinetic, or of course we're, what I mean? It's just we haven't got there yet, you know what I mean? Or telepathic. But I want to bring a grounded, practical, palatable approach of, if you want change in your life, you got to do the work. And that starts inward. You know what I mean? What are you missing? Where are your wounds? What are you seeking right now? And if you can start there, it's just you build up. You got to start with a firm foundation. And that comes through again, self-care principles like boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries. Where are you lacking those in your life? What do you need? Is it, with money and relationships, with yourself, that kind of thing. Understanding your intuitive, type. Like, we can talk air signs or, like our sun signs, or I'm sorry, I meant like what sign you are and like knowing yourself that way. But how are those energies and influences participating in the greater scheme of things? You know what I mean? Knowing patterns in your life and styles of operating with others or with yourself. I think once you have that practical foundational base, then everything else falls into place. So that's where I want to go. The healing route is what I really want to focus on. In a fun way.
Yeah.
Spirituality should be fun too. It shouldn't be somber and serious all the time. It should be just as exciting,
Well, the universe has big jokes, but that's a different podcast.
Big joke.
So Jenny, Dave was talking about sun signs, which I just felt like was like the perfect little tee up for you. So share your gifts. What do you got, Jenny K?
Well, my strongest planet is the sun. It's also my most disharmonious, so I'm learning a lot via the sun. And I didn't even understand what that statement meant until a year ago. So, it's interesting. So Daniela earlier said, we grew up in a world that was pretty black and white. And I came into this role of being like, and there's a lot of different variations between the black and white, and I've kind of always lived in the gray. I also grew up like not familiar, definitely not my family. I think my mom had these talents, but probably didn't tap into them as much. But I've always been incredibly intuitive, and to the point that it frightened other people around me when I was growing up. And so I've also been deeply logical, like really curious, like what makes this thing work.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to understand like what I wish we all came into the world with like a book, right? And here's how you work and here's how you operate. And I'm saying that because as it turned out, and the thing that I'm really bringing to this particular group, even though I've been coaching in some way, shape, or form my entire life, started out kind of more advising and life coaching. And I always hated the word life coach. People are like, oh, go out. This is in my 20s. You can go out and be a life coach. And I'm like, what I am standing for is more than just a life coach. And
Yeah.
it's not to shade on life coaching. It's just not me. I'm also a Scorpio rising or a Scorpio midheaven. And Scorpio stands for transformation. And I've called myself a transformation coach since early in my 20s. And to fast forward to where I'm at now, a couple of years ago, and the gifts that I'm looking to bring particularly to this is beyond just simple coaching. It's using astrology, evolutionary astrology, in support of helping people understand what's really going on at the core. I want to preface also that when this really hit me a year ago, it was really uncomfortable. It felt too magical, too perfect, right? I also grew up in a world where, at least in the way that I grew up, astrology has always been more entertainment. It's been
Yeah.
more superficial and superstition and quite literally bullshit, right? When I
Yeah.
get around people and I hear things like, oh, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Pisces. And it's that perspective always felt like bullshit because it was. Then I learned about evolutionary astrology and some other branches of astrology that are much more grounded in logic and actual understanding. And that's the gift that I want to bring to this, is helping people understand what is actually welling up in them so they can ride the wave instead of getting sucked up into the current and getting floated out into the ocean. It's incredibly powerful. It has boosted me in ways that I don't even have the words to describe over the course of the last year. It has gotten me through. Um,
It's so validating, right? To know that there are other things going on, right?
yeah,
Like this
it's
isn't just random,
it's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Life
And
changing.
yeah, and all of these modalities matter, right? It all matters and depends on where we are with things. But the particular thing that I'm looking to bring is supporting people and understanding what is actually going on. It is the book. It is.
Yeah.
It is. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I don't know if this is going to happen in my lifetime, supporting people and understanding what those planetary energies are rolling up in them, so they can just look and be like, oh, that's what's going on, and understanding what the energies are, and then choosing powerfully from there versus
Yeah,
what
and
a lot of
using
us
it.
experience in this world of, why is this happening to me? It's like, oh, well, that's what's going
not
on. Now
personal.
I can choose differently. So my goal would be to teach people that, and then I don't have to coach anymore. I can just, I don't know, exist and float around and, be a little nomadic in my life.
Oh, that
Learn
is
more.
the dichotomy of coaching. You're like, I'm going to coach you so good that you're going to fire me.
It's like one of my favorite things is when somebody's like, I don't really need you anymore. And
That's
I
the
mean,
point. Yeah.
that's the point, is
Uh-huh.
teaching that, supporting people and becoming that independent, that we
Mm.
only need to be interdependent when the time calls on it. That's,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Season for everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
Just call me when you're leveled up, because Lisa, as you and I have
'Cause
been
then there'll
talking
be
about this
more to
last
do.
week,
Yeah.
leveling up is terrifying and it brings up a lot of shit. So as you level
We
up,
start
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I think of like Elphaba on the stage show of Wicked. Like when she goes up during Defying Gravity, and you're like, oh my God. That must have been horrifying for that actress. Like the first time she had to learn what it was like to be on the lift and belting.
Yeah,
That's
hitting this
like,
iconic run at the same time.
right. Like I kind of feel like that's where I'm at right now. And I'm like, is my voice control where it should be? Let me go learn from TikTok. No. Okay, that was
How about
aggressive.
you? What about you, Lisa?
Yeah,
What do you
Lisa.
bring in?
Yep. Round it out.
So I think that almost everybody else has talked about their Greek connections to the Athenaeum. Dave with your tattoo and your Davicus brand,
Yep.
Jenny astrology and Greek mythology have close ties. Daniela, you and your dogs. For me, it's the enneagram, which is a Greek word. So I think that not being as steeped in the spirituality until it was my decision to be steeped in the spirituality makes it so that I feel like I have a very balanced
Yeah.
approach when it comes to explaining all these different things and why people are motivated the way that they are. Um, so one of my gifts is understanding the Enneagram and like what core motivation you are protecting, what core fear you are trying not to let anyone near, and then the ways in which you might react because of that, and how you can proactively either get out of your own way or choose a different behavior or pattern that is still natural to you but isn't necessarily your default, and really push at those growth edges. Um, and the other thing that I'm very good at is keeping mental receipts, which was so fun for my previous partner, I'm sure, and
Loved
any
it.
future partners, to be honest.
Uh,
But I do, like, I feel like a lot of the time I will not only remember what was said, I will remember how I felt when it was being said. I will remember what I was wearing. I will remember what you were wearing. I will remember where we were standing, because a lot of things will just kind of imprint on me. And so that's how I come up with examples that fit in perfectly, kind of like that non story earlier with Jenny. The look she was giving me kind of made me think maybe she didn't remember that story very well, but I remember it. Um, and so I think that paying attention to the details that like really sink in with different people and being able to bring those out at the correct time is one of the biggest gifts that I bring to the table,
mm,
and helping others realize just how powerful they are passively without even thinking about it.
yeah.
And that's something that I really, really love to do. And I really, really love to help dissect and pick at things and poke at them, and um, do it in a really empathetic way, because I am also a Cancer moon and incredibly sensitive. I remember one time I watched Gone Girl with my previous partner, and I didn't talk to him for like 4 hours afterwards because I'm like, that could have been you. You could have been doing this. He was like, this is irrational. And I was like, I know it is, and I don't care. Don't do it. Um, so anyway, the point is I can relate very, very well. And sometimes that's a blessing and sometimes that's a curse. And that in conjunction with my Leo moon, my Leo sun, which is very much like, let's get together, let's put on a show. Like, I think that that is a killer combination when it comes to applying it to other folks and helping them understand the light within. And
Yeah.
it's also something on the flip side that I have to contend with, for my own self and my own standards. So that helps me grow as well. Um, so that was it. We did it. We did it.
We
We did
did
our
it.
intro. How is everybody feeling?
I can just see from this conversation, like, I feel like I'm trying to put myself in the position of other people that might be listening to this
Yeah.
Mhm.
in the future. And I'm like, just listening to you all talk, I was like, there are already so many things I want to know so much more about based on little things that you said, that I'm like,
Yeah.
we need like 7 podcasts just from this podcast that I feel like people will have questions about. Or
This
I'm
is
just
how it
like,
starts.
I can already see I'm like so jazzed. Like, holy shit.
Well, send them in. Send them in. Like, if you're feeling the way that Daniela just probably accurately predicted that you're feeling, let us know.
Yeah.
Because podcasting has already been such a joy for all of us, and it's something we want to jump into discussions with you all about. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited that you joined us in our treehouse. I see Jenny wanting to add something in before I wrap it up. Go ahead, Jenny.
Well, you asked how I felt. I feel remarkably calm and grounded and so fucking excited at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like I'm just sitting here trying to compose myself and being like, this is it's such a bizarre,
happening.
awesome feeling. Like,
Mhm.
because I just know this is not just possible for those of us that are in this podcast and so many other people that we touch on a daily basis. Just knowing where this is going. I just know it. I can see it. And
Mhm.
I'm so excited. And and I hate saying so excited. It's like kind of one of my pet peeves, but I know that's why.
Jesse Spano.
I so get that. I love that.
Yes.
You've been fighting. it the
I'll
whole
come up
time.
with another word that encaptures calm and really fucking
Calm
excited.
happiness.
And yeah.
Uh,
That's what
I
we
mean,
got.
I feel like we're missing, I'm so sorry. We have to tell people that we're each representing an element.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
4 corners. Yes.
Yeah. Which is so
So we
fun.
got
Our
air
sun
sign
signs.
here,
Yeah,
and then
I'm a water
over here.
sign.
Earth.
Fire.
But no, how cool is that? Like,
Yeah.
I just
Saves
think,
air because in case anybody wasn't doing process of elimination there.
He said it first.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Of course.
All right, I'll see
I'm the
myself
quick
out.
one. I'm the quick one.
There's
No, I
only
think
3
it's
letters.
just there's so many little things that like coming together like this is it has been foretold. Like I am so excited. I'm excited to see what happens with all this and to see our community grow.
I love the realism that we all have, and also the like, how, yeah, just the humor around it too. Like
Yes, that's
it's so serious and so not at the same time. Lisa,
life, right?
early on in the
That's life.
podcast, you talked about how having everybody normalize things. For me, it's like almost like neutralizing things, right? There's a balance between it all. Dave said
Yes.
the 2 sides of the same coin. Like it just this, yeah, it's
The magic's in the middle, right? Like, yeah.
yeah.
I love you. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Love y'all. Thank you
Love
for
y'all.
joining us, and we will see you next time.